This is Pat Gilliss, Patty's Corner, to talk to you again today about the blessings that Jesus can bring to your life, the blessings it is to know Him on a personal basis, that you can talk to Him anyway. I'm going to turn my phone down here. And I just want you to know that He is ever present in our lives if we will recognize it. We have to recognize that He is ever present in our lives. The things that we think we do that He don't see, He sees everything. He sees everything. He knows everything. And He will help us with everything. There's not anything that you can ask Him that is too little or too big, because Jesus, He's everything. He's everything. You know, there's a scripture that says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed begging. Everybody says for bread, but it doesn't say for bread. It says, I'm young and now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread, not for bread, but bread. And bread, who is the bread of life? Jesus. He is the bread of life. I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging. Jesus. Because He has answered, 3 books, and I'm working on book 4, full of not just prayers. He's answered probably 1,000,000 prayers for me, but very, very important prayers, miracle type prayers. I've written 3 books on miracle type prayers, and that happened in my lifetime. And I am working on book 4 because they're still happening. You know, it's just, it's a walk that never ends. We choose this walk that never ends, or we choose to end it. He doesn't. He never chooses to end His walk with us. He never chooses for us to walk away. He chooses for us to live for Him, talk about Him, love Him, and it will show when you talk to Him on a regular basis. It will show in your life, your actions, I used to be a real pretty bad hothead, but now I'm not so quick to answer. There's been a couple of times I've lost my temper. I guess everybody has that issue. I think it's just inevitable, but I'm not too big if I make a mistake to go back and say, can you forgive me? I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have got mad about that. I shouldn't have done that. Can you please forgive me? I'm very sorry. And mean it. And it's amazing. And when someone comes to me and says, can you forgive me? I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that or done that. Well, I do. I forgive them because they're just as human as I am. And God knew our frailty when He created us, but He gave us a path for forgiveness from Him too. And so when we walk with Him and talk with Him on a daily basis, He knows our voice. He knows our cries, our desperation. He knows everything about us. The day we were born, He heard our first cry. So the day we were conceived, He knew our future. He knew the day I was conceived that I was going to be on here talking to you one day. I had no clue. If somebody would have told me this 6 months ago, I would have said, no, 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 that would not happen. But here I am, humbly, because I am nothing in myself, but I am mighty through Christ to the pulling down of strongholds. What's a stronghold, you say? Anything that makes you feel bad, or anything that makes you feel unworthy, that's not coming from God. That does not come from my Lord. He told us we were worthy. We were so worthy. He died for us. I wasn't worthy. I never felt worthy that He died for me. But really, He made us worthy. That's the only reason we could ever be worthy, is if Jesus Christ is in our life and makes us worthy. his love, his blood covering, his miracles. I've written these books about miracles, not because I'm great, but because I know to go to who is great. I can go to him for anything. Has he answered every prayer? No, not every prayer, but he's answered many prayers, enough to write 3 books full, and working on book 4. And I don't even type. I have hunt and pecked, 2-finger, hunt and pecked 3.5 books now, and I get them corrected, and I get them published. I publish them on Amazon, but the stories are all true, and they needed to be done. And why in the world he chose me to do it, I don't know, but he did. So we planned for our lives. We didn't walk straight to it. And any blessing, we don't walk to it. He helps us to walk through it. When we face something, we think, why in the world would this come on my life? Or why would this happen? Or how am I going to handle this? How am I going to deal with this? But somehow we reach up and we take that hand of Jesus Christ, and he will walk us through it. I mean, how many mountains and valleys have any of us gone through up to this day? If you all look back and search the eaves of your mind, you're going to remember some horrible things, and you thought, how in the world am I ever going to get through this when it happened? But somehow we're still here. And sometimes he chooses for us to take a different route than what we planned. And we have to be flexible. We have to be willing to take that curve in the road, if that's what you want to call it, that we walk the paths that he has laid out for us. Honestly, if I knew ahead of time, I may not have taken those paths. If he let us know what was coming, as humans, we may not have wanted to walk that path, and we may not have walked that path. So he loves to surprise us and see what we're going to do instant, in season, and out. So there's times I haven't been ready for something that was fired my way, but somehow, through his grace and help and leading, he got me through it. And I'm talking some pretty bad stuff, really bad stuff. If you've never been snatched out your front door by a police officer when you weren't expected to be snatched out your front door because someone was stalking, and we had called them because he said, I'll be in 10 minutes and I'm going to blow you away. So I was just terrified. And then I heard this little tap on the door, and I opened it, and this little short black man with glasses, looked very kind and humble, was standing there, and he smiled, and he reached over and pointed to the lock because the storm door was locked. And I hit that snap, and in one split second, that man had grabbed the door open, grabbed me by one arm, snatched me out the front door. I am screaming. And he said, and I look up, and there's 2 police officers in each corner of the yard with guns pointed at me. And I'm like, oh, I was screaming. And he said, is he here yet? And I said, no, there's nobody here yet. I said, you scared me. I was terrified. But they were just trying to protect me. So I've had some really crazy, really crazy times that have happened and come across my life that I didn't understand. I didn't understand any of it. I wasn't sure why it happened, but I do know that God, my Jesus, kept me through it all, protected me, protected my children. And then many years later, I met the man I'm married to now, and we have been married going on 39 years. Is it 39 years, Glenn?
Going on 40.
Going on 40. It's 39 now. You lose track. But I'm happy. I love this man as much as I did the day I married him, and he loves me the same way. And I've been great big, and I got down small again, and it's just life. It's just life. So through every issue of life, Jesus has been in my corner. In every issue of life, he has protected me, he has led me, he has guided me, and he has taught me. He has spoken to me when I would hear it, when I would hear him say, "It's me, Jesus." I find that a very personal God, and it touches me remembering and thinking about it. And he doesn't love me any more than he loves any of you listening today. He loves you. And, I used to think that there was this, to get in God's presence, it had to be this great big hoopla, but it doesn't. All you have to do is whisper his name and wait for his presence. Jesus, will you come to me now? And he will. He will, and he will help you through whatever issue you're going through. Now, it doesn't mean he'll take care of it all the way we want him to. There's been times I said, "I wish you would do it this way," but he chose to do it another way. But I still made it through it. And I didn't understand it, but I just kept walking. That's all I did, was I just kept walking. My daddy used to walk. When he got Alzheimer's, he got sick with Alzheimer's, and he had this good state job. He had to leave his job. So he would walk all around Milford. You might have seen him many years ago. They called him Milford Can Man. He'd walk all over Milford picking up cans. And he would take those cans to cash them in, and he couldn't remember what the coins were. So he would point to the nickels and the dimes, and he would say, "This is for your mother. But this right here," and he would point to the quarters. He said, "These are my work of the Lord money." And he would put them in a big sock. And if they had a special offering at the church for something that the church needed, here he would come with a great big old sock full of quarters. Sometimes, there'd be a couple $100 worth of quarters in there. And that was his work of the Lord money. And he'd say, I can't remember your name, but I know you're mine." And he would say that to me and my brothers and sisters. "I can't remember your names, but I know you're mine." But till the day he died, he never forgot Jesus. And I was with him when he took his last breath. And whatever he saw was so magnificent. This was a man at this time, he got so bad, if his arm fell out of his bed at the nursing home, and we were there every day. I only lived about a half a mile away. And I would go 2 or 3 times a day just to make sure he was dry. I would check on him all the time. I loved my dad. I loved my mom. But this time Daddy was really sick. And the day he died, we were with him. And this man, if his arm fell out of the bed, he couldn't bring it back in. He couldn't talk. By the time he was passing. He hadn't talked for months. And just before he died, this man that couldn't do anything raised himself up on one elbow in that bed. And he looked up and he's like, oh, whatever it was that he saw was magnificent. And it was as though he was saying, "Just a minute, I have to die first." And he laid his head over, took his last breath. And we knew, without a doubt, the angels had come for him. He saw them. I know he did. And it's a comfort when I think back about it, because, when you can't talk to them and they can't respond to you, they can't tell you if there's an issue. So I watched him close. I took care of him. And I just asked the Lord to take care of anyone that would harm him, because I think at that time there was a little problem with that. But at any rate, God did take care of it. And the situations that we pray for every day, they are important. When I pray, they're important to me. They're important to my family. They're important to my church. My prayers are important to God. And he answers. Not always Jack Flash time, but in the end, in his timing, he will answer. He will lead us. He will guide us. He loves us. He loves us beyond anything we could ever think or imagine. And if it's important to you, it's important to him. Things that I've asked him for some crazy things. I asked him for this wallpaper back here. I know that it's an old house, and it was a few cracks in the wall that had been patched, overly patched. But we could not imagine tearing all this plaster off this 100-year-old house. That would have made such a mess. So we decided to cover it on one wall, on 2 rooms, with the wallpaper, and it certainly dressed it up. And they were the worst walls, so the cracks were covered, and the rest of the walls